Trying to figure out, for some reason it's not picking up the audio. It's not Dash. Oh, this is too low. Aha. That'll work. Ah, I know why. Yeah. Probably should have looked at that a little bit more before I started. I don't want to come out of there. I want to come out of there. Whoa, hello. Haha. There we go. Okay. It's coming out of the TV, but like I can't tell with the headset. If it was doing that, I thought it was just coming from my headset. All right. That seems extremely quiet too. All right, that should be better. Anyway. I have not had actually any serious caffeine for like 2 or 3 weeks. Like soda maybe here and there, but I haven't actually had coffee for like 3 weeks now. 2 or 3 weeks. Something like that. Anyway, I'll probably get back into it again soon. I'm just kind of doing like a purge clean. Anyways, so I said that I was going to go over something I was working on for a question narrator. Technically requested it, I think, in August. Just finished it recently, though. Kind of been an on and off thing I've been working on since then. So, but it was, he wanted to provide a video that would illustrate his going back to reading Heroes. And normally when people send commission stuff, I read them, but I just throw them out. But that one actually sounded like up the alley that I was trying to do something for anyway. So I decided to I was like, sure, I'll do it. So if anybody hasn't seen the final for that, yeah, it's this one. It's just a simple thing. None of the models existed though, and it was. I'll show all that stuff though. Well, when I say simple, I mean the execution is simple. To me, things are complicated when there's a lot of, I guess, a lot of cogs that have to be worked through, or like a lot of things that could go wrong, or a lot of stuff that has to be thought of at once. To me, everything here was very doable. It just was, I knew it was going to be time consuming, but time isn't an issue when it comes to a lot of stuff. Complicated things can take a short amount of time. It's just sometimes it's struggling. So the and I didn't know anything about Heroes, so I had to get some help in terms of like character personalities or whatever. The one thing you're gonna notice is that the video is reversed from what this is. That was because it's supposed to be that how hired gun's right eye is mechanical, but the model that had the best version of an eye like that only had the left eye. So instead, I had to build it all in reverse and then mirror it in post. So the other thing is that it's supposed to be her left leg that's mechanical and her right back leg. So I built it also that was the opposite legs, so that when I reversed it, everything worked fine. There was no text or anything I had to worry about with that, so things could mirror without issue. But it does get messy. So like, for instance, just to get this model to work, there's 5 different models stacked on top. So, and the reason that there's 5 is because there is the standard model, the one in the middle. I had to use the Twilight one that Optimus made that had the eye, and that even took some retexturing. The armored legs from a different model. The pit buck, the armor itself, and then 2 different versions of the hair. I couldn't get the hair itself to look right when, or it didn't feel thick enough as it was, so I stacked 2 of them on top of each other and just used one with the white and one with the red, the pink. It looks like the pink, yeah, only the tail had one. That's kind of creepy. The Sweetie Belle type model. This is, I can't remember her name. I just went with what names I knew. I knew this one hired gun. It was Blue Alicorn, Small Child, and Metal Pegasus. So that's just Sweetie Belle recolored. I had to go. I didn't find an HD cutie mark, so I had to make that one in Photoshop. This was just Platinum Haze. I did her main in After Effects, but I'll get to that. So her main, there was none that existed. Kind of. She does have a main. Because I did it in After Effects, there's the issue of see, I did not like a lot of this look. Is a physical object blocking light that's coming in at her. So I still utilize this. If you turn the alpha off on something and have shadows on, shadows will still be cast as if the object is there. So I used that, made the main invisible, and then still kept it with animation. I guess it's a little broken. So that it would cast a shadow, and I slowed it down and did it so that the shadow would go across the neck at about the same pace as I was going to do it in After Effects. So it was like I was cheating a little bit with that. Otherwise, that was just a recolor of, I think, Luna. And then this one, ignore that it's black for right now. It's just because of how I did it. So the armor itself was it's an armor set. I think it was Rainbow Dashes. This one had a lot. Yeah, so it was a armor set used for Warhammer type 40k type style, and normally it was a big bulky suit of armor, and so you know too, all these models. I know I need that. Try out that. You'll notice that the proportions are very different than the standard pony. I went through and I reproportioned everything to make it feel like everybody was more muscular, and the hired gun is supposed to be bulky. So I went through trying to make her feel more bulky without destroying the bottle. So like shortened up the front leg here, increased the size of chest 1, decreased the size of chest 2, and pelvis, increased the size of the thigh a little bit, but then like keeping the bottom of the legs bulky. So I did go through like multiple passes to try to get something that worked, and this was the one that ended up working the best because this made her feel big and braver with the armor on top. That helps. And the same was for him. So if I get rid of the armor and I can get rid of the wings. I thought they were separate. Yeah, they're separate. And the tail. And you can tell these proportions are very different. I just squeezing them down in some areas to get them to fit. But this only works from this angle. From this angle, there's a lot of clipping and stuff, and that didn't matter because it's just only needed from one angle. Oh, and how I had found out with the camera, the fact that you can play with these near and far here to fix the bad texturing on edges at high zoom. It was from working on this that I figured that out, because I was getting such bad fragment, what do they call that? I just had a lot of texture errors, and so I was trying to figure out how to fix it because it was getting really annoying. Anyways, for him, so what I did was, so with the lighting, I utilized a lot of, I played with the fog levels, added bump maps, and I think I even added a environment map too, to try to get it so that the armor itself is not actually colored. It's utilizing the lights in its surroundings to give it a metallic look. If I tried to light the armor itself, the whole armor would get lit or brighter or colored overall, and it didn't give that like harder dark areas that I was looking for. So it gave that look. But it's just that because of that, it looks really black when you're in there. And for some reason, these wings, when I load them, they're black textured, but like even though I have them textured, they just show blue here. I was like, whatever. Only thing I kind of didn't like is that I wish that I would have had this better darkened to better connect with the body, but I was kind of like, just said whatever. The scorpion tail was, this was from, so yeah, Tentacle from Black Mesa, Zinnians, I don't even know what it was. I just stole the tentacle. It had a lot of pre-made animations with it, which was nice because it allowed me to kind of give it a more natural look from just what they had. And there was originally a lot of other stuff in the end, but I shrunk it all down, colored it silver, so that better fit. That back leg looks smaller than it should be. So yeah, this armor is normally much bulkier. I just went and shrunk down every piece and readjusted it so that it just barely fit over the body, because I would think that Pegasus power armor shouldn't be big and bulky. It should be light. So there's also this piece on the back of the neck. I didn't want just a black like fabric. I want to look like there's a neck support going up. And so I think that's just like pieces from robots in TF2, like just jammed in a couple of them. I think it's like the spine of Scout, I think. Yeah, neck support. Metal support, okay. Oh no, that's not even from that. I must have grabbed it from something else. Originally I was using the Scout's back as a bit, but then I guess it didn't work out. I can't remember. Some of this was like months ago. One last thing here. So the main that I did, I was trying something new. So I wanted to try something new with the main for how to do wind blowing effects, because the two issues that I usually have with some wind blowing effects is that it usually looks like the wind is hitting the entire body evenly at the same time. Well, wind usually comes from one side and crosses over to the other side, and wind isn't consistent. A lot of wind effects are also a looping effect that just keeps going and going and going and going. Like there's a breeze at 15 miles an hour that is unchanging, which isn't realistic. So I was playing around with trying to make wind more realistic by adding in wave and then varying levels of effect. And that was one of the first things I did because I wanted to see if I could pull it off, and it ended up turning out like actually pretty good. What I ended up doing was that I still did the normal like wave effect for the hair, so like all the hair moving in one go, and I did it at what I would consider to be the most extreme way possible for the hair to hit, so super, super wavy. Then once I had that, I went through and let me see if I can open up the hair here. I need this. So this is the wavy effect, and so this is really the most extreme that I had it. And so I went through and I would grab parts like this and I would start shifting them a little bit this way, so it would like speed up and then it would slow down. But then when it started doing the slow down, I'd grab like that part and I would like in to decrease the values. And I just kept playing with this, so like I'd go and shift some, then speed up others, but overall I brought all of it down like to about a third, and then pick some areas to keep it at its maximum value so it looked like the wind would gust. I might do it a little louder. There we go. So I wanted to be looking like there was a gust of air, but then it would quiet back down. And to get that wavy effect, I just went and selected all the hair, then like deselected the hair right here, shifted all of it forward in time 1 frame, then deselected a little bit more, moved it forward a frame. It just kept doing that over and over and over in like multiple groups, so that from one end to the other, the difference is like 8 or 9 frames, I think. I think 8 to 10 maybe. So it's the same effect, just delayed across the whole body. The problem is I made that whole thing, readjusted everything, and then that was before I did any of these other ones. So I had to artificially try to like simulate the changes. So like if a gust went through her mane, that it hit his mane too. That was tougher, but it ended up working out. So well, that was quite louder or quieter. And besides that, for like the lighting, it's pretty standard. Like there isn't anything real special about this. I went through a lot of iterations to try to get stuff that worked. Originally I thought about turning the camera and doing some other stuff. The actual eye itself, like I had to manipulate the lighting to like close with the eye and reopen with the eye. The eye itself has a this little model here for the black, and then there's another one for spinning. So I just, to make that effect of like the pupil changing size, I just spun it and changed the size of that circle. It was simple. They're not centered perfectly on the eyeball, which made that a little bit more interesting. But also this is a super old model, so I got it to work though. Otherwise, lights in the eyes. Yeah, besides that, it's fairly standard. There's not much. There's a lot of complex things here, but it's really just taking the time to do it. Things that took the most amount of time were going through and recoloring, retexturing, getting it all set up, getting her built, getting him built were the two main ones. These two were pretty easy. I did this one in a day and this one in a day. These two are the ones that took multiple days each. Anyway, so when it comes to this one though, I just did not like anything in the mains at all. I could not find any effects that I liked, so I ended up deciding that I'm going to try it in After Effects. And so there is this nifty tutorial written by Emerald Parrot that explains how to create a main in After Effects like this. And tutorial is pretty awesome. Because it gave it's exactly what I was looking for. Because, well, the alicorn isn't supposed to be ethereal, so I didn't make it sparkle or glow, but it still gave me a great starting point for stuff, and I learned a bit in doing it. So if you can, Emerald Parrots tutorials, I think I linked it in the in my DeviantArt post too. But his tutorial definitely, if you look up like how to animate Celestia's Mane, you'll come up with this one first. So thankfully, since that was easy enough, what I needed to do then was figure out, well, how am I going to slap it on this horse when it's not an object in SFM? So the solution I came up with that is to do 2 renders. So I had, and I'll go to After Effects here. So if we go to the final video, it's backed up. So this is showing the actual whole effect and everything running. This up, I think. Do I have to? Yeah. So this is, well, and let me turn off the other thing here. All right. So I rendered it as a green screen. She kind of looks like she's doing like a Hitler thing there. So I rendered out the whole video as you would see it here, just as like that. But then I rendered it a second time with the green screen, and the purpose of that is it allows me to separate the pony from the background, and not only to separate it, but to separate it with the depth of field. Because if you zoom in here, there is a depth of field blur, so I needed to try to take that into account. I probably shouldn't have done green. I should have picked something opposite of the blue, which would have been closer to like a yellow, or a orange maybe. Probably would have worked a little. Well, no, not orange, because I guess there is the edge lighting here, so maybe green worked. So anyway, so in After Effects, to get that to actually work, because I was trying to figure out, I'm like, okay, I have the green screen. How do I get that to act like a mask? And so I figured out the way to do it was, if you have a green screen and you enable a track mat here to be visible, which I think is one of these buttons. Yeah. And that if you go to one of the layer below that one, you can enable it to say, do you want a mat, or to have that used as the one above it as a mask of sorts. So by doing that, it allowed the actual mask to be used. So where'd you go? Did I break it? No. When in doubt, just undo. I don't know how everything works, so I'm still learning it. I'm just hitting buttons and hoping it works. So without that mask, you get this. So it's actually like popping up in front of her. Is there a way to... Oh, yeah. So if I get rid of the backgrounds... So we're going to change the background color. Anyway, so doing it. So you can see it just kind of cuts out, it even shows the outlines of her too. So this is what the actual mane looks like. The hardest part about these wasn't actually making the mane. It was getting it to look like it was within a 3D environment and lit within that 3D environment. So I just had to, I ended up just adding a whole bunch of stuff here. So in the final here, there was an orange light coming from this direction, and all that direction in general. So I wanted to give a brighter orange look to this, darker here because her head's going to be blocking the light coming in from there, and then orange on the edge as much as possible. And so that's kind of what I did here. So there's like the wave warp is what's causing the actual wave effect. But where's the one that, oh, these are giving this like lines going through. Oh, that's just a matte to darken the side. That's to give orange across the top. And then this is, it's like a it's a noise bit stretched really, really wide and just slowly animating and moving across. And if you have it, I think is this button set? Yeah. So you can actually see how it looks without it on. It's just a stretched noise particle, rendered noise, and that's animated, so it changes itself a little bit. And then with this button hit, it locks it to only what's visible. So it kind of gives us like feeling that there's like an uneven surface, and by having these dark spotches, it makes it look like it's like a bend or in the wave. Can I see it? There it is. Okay. It disappeared. So it went normally. It's still hidden. There it is. Okay. So now you can see, like, so without that dark mask that I put here, this is how bright it would be, which didn't really feel like it fit the environment at all. So black on that side, bam. The top one is essentially just a copy paste of this one, except for it is it doesn't have a green screen because it's floating on top, and it is warped to hell. So I had to morph it to like fit it to an angled surface coming around. And played with the lighting again. So this one had different lighting than this one. So it's going to be bluer across the top here because it was going to be blue coming in from the side, orange across the bottom. I ended up giving this is really hard to render because this is all technically in like 4K it's playing with. And it was also trying to position it in such a way that it would look like it was coming around the horn, staying on the top of the head, because I mean it's not actually in the video, it's just floating there. There's this teeny little one back here. This one isn't really doing much. It's just a very the same texture as a lot of these other ones, just with less waves, super blued. And because it was a lot of blue light coming in from here. And then I have a mask over it. You see the mask cutting here, right? So that the only part that's visible is just the back of the neck. And that was just to give it a little bit of extra wave feeling. And by copy pasting this one, it waved and moved with it. So it kind of felt natural. The tail was the hardest one. Because I had to make a new texture. All the other ones in the tutorial says to make a triangle. And that's what I did. But for this one, it wasn't the same. So I had to make like a... yeah, you can see the shape. So I had to make this like oblong shape with a point and flat on this end. And then a couple of these are copied on top of each other because it's the only way I could find to get it to utilize the colorations that I want. I wanted to use the outer glow to get this sharp orange, but if I did that, the whole thing would have outer glow, so I made two versions of it, one with the blue on this edge, one with an orange on this edge, and then I kind of just fade, like this is one of them on top. That's one with a little bit of the orange detail, and then this is the rim that comes in from behind. And then the whole thing together just made kind of a tail effect. But the thing that I didn't like about it was it felt like it was just like wavy taffy on a stick. It didn't feel like it was really doing anything. It was just like doing the worm. So, and I didn't like that. So I wanted to put a wave within a wave to make it look like it was like blowing a little bit more. So in here I added in the wave warp again. So I took the other one had a wave warp to give it that wave effect. Then on the new composition, when I brought it in here, I put it on top of that one. So there was a wave on top of a wave. And this one I did a lot larger of detail. I can't preview it, but I can just play the video. Previewing would just take forever to build it all up. So you can see here that the tail starts. This is the wave right now. So this is its bottom and this is its top. And then by this point, the wave had moved here and it was on its way down. So it was just giving it a little bit more bend and curve. On top of that, I believe I also did a mesh warp on it to bend it down more too. So there was a lot of like manipulation to make it work. But those little ones, I made them in 4K originally, so I can bend them and move them, and it still has pixels to think with. If you're utilizing it, if it says, oh, it's a 4K video, but this is only this big, so I'll make it only 1080 texture. Well, then you start stretching and moving it, and stretching and moving these pixels, and you're going to just get lower quality. So, and then on top of that, with all these mains, I had to figure out a balance for blur because they were flat textures. So like for instance, so the side main here, without the blur, it would just been perfectly clear like this, or with the tail. Actually, this one wasn't that bad. There was another effect that I had on them that kind of made them a blur anyway. The Gaussian blur was needed to help it really blend. Yeah, this one you can really see it. But I had to play with it a little bit more because this had a very, very high aperture. So that meant that it was very narrow in terms of how much it would change. So it was, the further you went back, the more drastic the change. So the hair up here should be less blurred than the hair in the back. It's the same thing you can see here with the eye here. This was perfectly in focus, but in the actual video, even the side of her face is a little bit blurred just because it's how tight it was. One of the difficulties I did have with the masking though was that the eye itself was involved with part of the green screen. And I think some of these actually still get it. Or maybe not. I did have difficulty, and I wonder if it's still on here. No, I think I did get rid of it. Originally had it where it was actually partially showing through into her barding. I think I had to grab this green screen. I thought I had to grab that green screen and add a D-spill bias. Maybe it was, because that's why these are weird values. whatever. So yeah, that ended up giving that the effect. The only thing is this works from only this angle. It doesn't work from any other, or like with too much movement. I already did have to, well, like with the main top here, the position was already manipulated a little bit because I couldn't just have her be fully static. There are a couple times where I had her head move a little bit and I had to move the actual hair with the head. I could do tracking, but because it's blurred and because it's a low contrast in some areas, trying to get it to track accurately would be messy. So I decided to just manually do it. Especially since the hair's wavy, it kind of hides a lot of the minor movements. But it's for that reason that you see. I didn't want them just sitting there like without doing anything. So a lot of the characters had tried to give something for them to do in the time that they were standing there. So she goes and stands tall. He goes and looks like somebody had come up to his right. She goes and looks up because she's supposed to be mommy figure. And like she's trying to be all tough. And then she looks up and she's kind of goes into kid mode again. And then it's like, wait, no, adult things. So, I could do it with them, but with her, I couldn't have her turn like that because of the mane. So she literally just stares stoically forward. Again, then I just added a little bit of emphasis at the end for cool effect. I think for that, I just literally grabbed the mane and just whipped it more all at once. Yeah. One last thing I did do in here was, at this point, I thought this was going to be fairly plain because this is what it looked like after. Let me pre-render it. So it just felt like it didn't have oomph on the turn. So I added in a shockwave effect. So this is just, it's a very simple shockwave. So it's actually very similar to what I did in Remembrance. So it starts out with just a bulge, so you can see the bulge centers here, and I have it break out from there, slow down as it goes, and it starts, I don't even think it has ever 100% opacity, so this is the opacity, so how visible it is, and it says start at 25 and then 25 but at 0 size, so it's just infinitely small, and then as it goes it becomes more and more invisible until it hits this point where the opacity keeps dropping continuously, but this is what affects its speed so that it slowly fades out. And then on top of that I added a lens flare, not for the actual flare but more of because it usually has a better point lighting than other methods. So if I get rid of the shockwave so you can see just the one. So you can't even really tell it's a lens flare. The difficulty with this one was the head's moving in a very awkward way. So I had to manually do the marking where the center for eye is. And then at this point I didn't really care. Because her head wasn't moving enough and it was already faded out quite a bit. I did have it fade for quite a while. Blending at 100% meant that it was 100% of the original. So technically at this point I'm only at like 15% opacity. This would have been 100. And I don't want that. So it's just enough to give a little, like by opening it from a dark area, your eyes are suddenly like, that was a lot of light, and like gave a flash of it, and then it's like simulating kind of like your eyes are adjusting to it. And then you put the two together, and you get a neat effect. This helped give oomph, because with the music. I mean, okay. Okay, it's still gonna be goofy. Anyway, it's eye effect, whatever. Besides that, I mean, like I did some, like I added a vignette because I always like to, especially on stuff like this, but in general, using it just because it helps focus your attention to the center or away from the edges, makes it feel like it's framed in some way. And then the color correction. There wasn't too much I did for color correction. Mainly what I did was I just bumped up the contrast and the brightness a little bit, and right here. And I was playing around with grain, and I always add vibrance. So vibrance just helps. It doesn't increase the saturation; it makes colors pop. Makes them feel more cartoony. For this, actually, I'd originally thought about doing, instead of the like something like this here, instead of doing the normal of increased vibrance and maybe a little saturation, but putting the vibrance way up and decreasing saturation, because it kind of gives it a neat coloration effect. Like, it's giving the pop without giving the color. If I drop the saturation to 0, nope, it still does 0. But it's weird. Then it's different than just lowered saturation. But if you want to see what vibrance does, so like here would be a good example. So seeing the orange on her, the difference between 0 and then 100 really makes a lot of those other areas just pop a bit more. So I love putting up vibrance. Not 100, but using 20. But I did play around with like this film grain a little bit. But I ended up in the end not using it. But I kind of liked the effect. Besides that, I think that just about like covers everything that I at least can think of off the top of my head for this. Oh, there's one part right here. This right here really annoyed me. So the render in SFM, and actually I think I gotta go to like about here, gave it so that this area, while it was kind of blurred, was giving a very strange effect. So this is the video, but this right here felt like it was pulling the attention way more than it should. So I ended up just masking over a what do they call that? An adjustment layer right here. So it's not a visible layer, it's just you add in like color effects or other things on top of it, and it just applies to all the layers below it. So in here I just added a blur effect to it, just to hide it, or to reduce that that effect, so it wasn't so standouty. It still is a little bit, but not near as bad as it is when it was like that, because that was ridiculous. So I mean, I don't know, the stream might not be able to pick up that detail, but yeah, that was super annoying to me. So I ended up just literally extra blurring that one little spot. Yeah, and they ended it. Well, the reason I mainly did do green was I had to have the video done as soon as possible, and I had a deadline for getting it finished on Sunday, and with all the other stuff, but because I finished all the animating work on last Saturday, and then I had to render it overnight, and that was a 10-hour. No, it was a 13-hour render, and it was a 10-hour render. I started at like 2 in the morning, and so it went till noon. So I was locked out, and I worried myself because it was like 10 or 10:30. So I went to go turn on my Switch, and my Switch turns on my TV, and then my computer detects the TV, and it kind of like blinks for a second, and in doing so, it broke the render. So I had to go and back the render up about 45 minutes. So that I could restart at that point to fade if I need it, and I did need to fade. It was super annoying. So that delayed the render until like 1 p.m. and I had to finish it that day. And I still had to work on all the After Effects main, but my computer's not usable during a render. Then I had to go and after it was done, re-render again for green screen. That was an hour and a half. And then I spent a lot of the rest of the day just doing the main. I finished it at 1 in the morning, and it took 45 minutes to encode, and then I sent it to him at 2 in the morning. So, yeah, it was a long weekend to get everything done. But the result was fun, and turned out how I wanted it to. So if anybody has any questions about something here, I kind of covered the things that I thought were the awkward, but I know that there might be other things. The background here is pretty standard. It's just buildings floating out there with like fog levels. I tried to like make it blue up there so that it made sense with the blue hitting them. I mean, hell, I already thought it was weird, and I almost completely redid half of this thing just because of this reason. The wind is blowing right to left, and everybody except this right here. With that, it's not. And it's also consistent with the others aren't. But I almost redid everything to move her to this side and him to this side, but he was already animated, and so I would have had to basically redo all the animation. All the body work was moved and positioned just on his body the right way, so I had to redo all the body work, and I would have had to redo all her posing, though she wasn't animated at the time, and I didn't think that was worthwhile. I wanted her on this side because supposedly has a motherly instinct too, so I wanted to put her by the kid. So yeah, little things that frustrate me. Besides that, there's a crap load of lights in here. Like lights just to go across the ground here or hit walls or... I kept having difficulties just trying to optimize my use of shadowed lights. Yeah. Well, the Alicorn hair was fine. The only thing is if I had moved it to this side, it would have naturally looked like it was going that way. The tail would have still been an issue, but I could have like turned it the other direction or something. But it ended up coming down to I had to weigh the pros and cons, and the amount of time it would take to fix wasn't worth the small change that might not be noticeable, or what might not be noticed. So I said, screw it. I realize now she didn't have a cutie mark, but I'm not sure if she's supposed to. I think they're supposed to all be blank flanks. Anyways, a lot of work for something that looks really simple, or for a simple concept. But yeah, but again, if you want to do that, the main thing, it was, I forgot the name of the guy again. I wrote parrot. Just don't expect it to work for an like animation or something, or for a full-blown animation. You could do it, but you would essentially have to create a custom texture and main for every scene, and that would be super annoying and not worth it. I think it was Hero Strain that did it for one of his videos, and he had said how tedious and annoying the amount of work was to do that.
Well, I never posted to Twitter and stuff that I started. Yeah, I won't bother with him.
He's hiding over in the back. I can't think of anything else in here, so I'll just give this a close then. I'm actually going to restart it because it was a lot of memory. I'll get back working on the other video. Can't remember where I was on it. I guess I don't need this open either. Any other projects to show more keyframe animations? I only have one that I have saved with keyframes. No, there is another one, but it's probably not what you're looking for. I can open up the one that I know of. Let me see if I can find the edit of this, what do you call that? The demo version. Might be this one. Yeah, I think it is. It is. Stage 1, 2, 3, 4, all of them. Come on, you're in stage. Can't be that hard to load. I'd actually moved a lot of the, or I figured out on Steam that you can move or create multiple different game directories on different drives. So I moved a lot of my games to my M.2, and I thought about moving SFM, but this still scares me. So I haven't touched it yet. Because that would make loading... This is probably not loading, but it would probably speed up model or library building and all that stuff. Twixt the army. So yeah, so this is what you're looking for. So how I keyframe, I think what you're looking for. Thanks, Blair Blah. Appreciate it. It was just nice doing something different. Like, well, I guess it was very similar to something I've done before, but I got like domain and everything. I got to try a lot of new things. You know, it's nice. So this, yeah, that's how I keyframed. So this is the final. Well, I guess this has the bit, but this was the final one, I think. No, that's the final. For what it would look like. But then the keyframe. So a lot of what I did with the keyframe when it comes to emotion was every time a leg interacts with a surface, because you want to make sure that you have a frame that it is a full frame, or, and I guess I don't want to use the word frame, a full one of these sections that is why is this off a little? Anyway, but a full section of that where the leg is sitting on the ground. You don't want to have it be like hitting the ground for literally one frame, but when you blend it, then it would just like go away, because it's gonna go. You don't have it positioned there the whole time. So here she's moving forward. So I already pre-lifted the back leg, and then for the next one, this leg hit, and it's on the ground now, and this leg lifted, and I could do that because both these are opposite from each other. So you don't want to have. And I think I do it with one of these, but it was okay because of how I did it. But if you're going to have a leg, because you think, oh, her leg's on the ground, you're good, and the next frame, her leg's on the ground. The problem is, as soon as you blend that, you're going to have a time where they're both in the air. So you have to make sure that if that happens, that they're opposite corners, because if you have two legs lifted on the same side, you suddenly have an imbalance. So in this case, both or opposite legs lifted at the same time. Sure, she moves forward, but now that leg is down. Another leg lifts, and the opposite leg here starts lifting, mainly because I was pulling her leg in such a way that I decided to just make it start moving. So then the leg is midway, lands. The other one is now in the air. So it's a lot of back and forth. I'm pretty sure I think I lift this one at the same time. Yeah, so here, I did a little bit of a no-no. Because you can see here that when I blend these, you have that imbalance. But the reason that I was kind of okay with it was because her body was already turning the corner, so it felt like she was already leaning that direction, so it was a little bit more okay. But if they're walking straight, that's a lot more difficult to deal with. So it's every time that these legs are shifting or need to interact with the surface, that point has to be a keyframe, the moment that they land. So there her leg hit, and then from here it's more of just details with her. Then here she takes a step. So yeah, like I said here, on the ground, in the air, on the ground. And this one starts lifting, same side, but it's starting to lift while the other one was already down. So, so the main thing is making sure that you're not going, that one leg is lifted at a time, and that one is down before another one's up. And if they're doing it immediately one after another, then make sure that they're opposite corners or something. Yeah, well, essentially, I did a pose to pose here. Keyframe and pose to pose are kind of the same, but it just depends, I think, on their purpose. A pose to pose is normally for ensuring that you get a full body look for a shot, while a keyframe doesn't have to be that. A keyframe can be anything. It's just that key point. Blocking is then when you would be like, okay, now where would it be here? And then when I do that, where would it be here? Breaking it down into smaller and smaller segments to get as much detail as possible. And you can get good detail with that, but it's not my preference. I like doing the pose to pose method. And then if you're doing graph editor, blending's easier, but if you're doing motion editor like me, from there, this would be the initial blend. Oh, no, that's over here. So this is literally just blended with no other details added in. So you can see the legs. Oops. So you can see right, or when she comes across right there, it does look a little weird because even at one point here, because this back leg is technically lifting, but at one point all three legs are moving, which is not really good. But the way I saw it was the back leg was supposed to be lifting and pushing off. I just didn't clean, or I think I might have cleaned it up later. But at one, or even here, both front legs are moving separate. So it's watching for that. It may not be obvious until you're actually, until you've actually blended it. You know, it is a pain. Keyframing can be a pain. It's actually some of the most time-consuming stuff. That's why you don't see me do a lot of like full body motion stuff, because that is a lot of work. A two-legged like human body with a rig, not that difficult to do a lot of it, or at least it takes a lot of time. But when you're doing a four-legged creature without a rig, it's going to take you a while. The one nice thing though is you can utilize some previous frames to help you with other frames. So if you have like a swing backwards and a swing forward, you can make the keyframe in the middle by just taking the one that's further backwards and doing the like playhead or in and out to pull in part of the forward one, but not all of it, so that you kind of stop the animation halfway through and use that as your keyframe. I've done that for a lot of different things. I've done it before for like, say that you want to have somebody like swing forward, but you don't want them to just stop right at the end. You want to have it feel like they continued a little too far forward and then swing backwards just a teeny bit. Like what do they call it? Like some of the principles of animation, easy in, easy out, or ease in, ease out. So it goes in, then it eases back. So you would animate your keyframe to be that furthest point, and then when you blend it, you actually use only part of it, and so that you're just before the end, and then you blend that full bit. So it's like you're utilizing one keyframe to make two keyframes. Follow through. Yeah, sure. I'm not sure. I did a whole presentation on it too. Follow through would probably be the. Some of those principles could have a little bit of crossover, but it's their defined purpose that it makes them unique and have their own rule for it. So anyway, that was just the original blind. So yeah, tail's not done, hair's not done, nothing. This is then when I went through and actually cleaned it up. So for the back leg here, I did do a little bit better with. I didn't actually clean up too much of the other stuff though. But a lot of what I did with this one was the secondary animation. So like here, pulling her head back so that she was swinging it into the shot right at the beginning. Having her head go down to whip up with the look instead of having it just this raise. I wanted to actually give oomph. And then having when her head goes down, having her head go back for a whip motion. Here going down to pull back, and then staying down when it goes forward. I don't think I did any tail animation yet. Nope. And then this is the final where I had it fully cleaned up. All the hair animation, tail, everything. When I made the animation, I knew that when I was doing that having it visible as to how I did each step of it would be useful at some point. So I did save each one. So these are actual different blends as I was doing them. So. And her eyes are closed because in the shot it was a silhouette, so I didn't want her to have her eyes shown. If you're curious what that was from in its actual final, there's a bird from right there. I think I have one for this too. I thought I had one for her whole turnaround shot too. No session. I'll find it. Why is it going so slow? I think I have it. Oh, there it is. Haha. So that's how it looks from this angle. I kind of cheat with the gun. It like just floats over there and then comes in. I think that this one, did I do that? No, I didn't. Some of these actually use 2 guns for. So I was doing post to post here. The gun's animated. I probably don't need that showing because that was animated afterwards. But so these I didn't really need to put too much detail into because I could add that in secondary. But so you can see there's like one key every like half second. But then with this, there's a lot more. There it goes. So you can see that here for the actual motion. So here it was about spinning on one foot, then building up the body, scrunching up the body to push strong. So she pushes, or she gets to the ground, but she shouldn't be pushing off yet. She should still be scrunched because she has to make impact first. Then having her backside get pushed first because that's what's her leg is connected to. Then the rest, her middle back starts popping up here, but her legs are falling behind now. And then she starts getting control. Oh, yeah, the horrifying bit with the arms. The clothing was so badly clipping that I just ended up coloring her the color of the clothing and shrinking her arms to not have to worry about it. This was all manually animated for the clothing to make it work. If you actually watch the tie closely, it's all over the place in terms of how it's shaped. Because it was the only way I could get it to work. God, that was... now I'm just thinking back, and that was like a dark time of making that video. So, but yeah, I was very happy with how that turned out. Look, I mean, if you look at it, she didn't even... You don't even see a lot of it. It's all just motion blur. But I was very happy with how it turned out. I can't even remember what the original video did with that. Oh, she was just... I think she was standing in place spinning it, but it was... There was... I wasn't able to spin with her arms. It was like an impossibility. So I ended up using her magic to do it, but I had to like hide it somehow. The fact that she was just doing magic. Because that sound effect for the spinning is in the video. I couldn't modify it. Here too. Oh yeah, to hide the rim of her eyes, I had to like black it out. Because if I didn't, what map is this? Yeah, you could actually like see her eyes. I didn't like that. So eye blockers. Here to make the gun look like it was more blurred and more visible is 3 guns. Because with the motion blur, this is what it would look like with the 3 guns combined. Guns. But with just one, it looked like this. So the motion blur essentially made the end pieces and this piece really, really hard to see. By doing that, it created a much darker, more visible spin. So I think anytime it slows down, it just shrinks back into itself a little bit and then stretches out when not. So when it takes or lifts up, they're all together, and then they start spreading out. The lighting doesn't feel right. Oh, the skybox I think had a override on it that's not there anymore. It was work in progress. Oh yeah, that was me breaking down her whole build. Get the torque going on. Who was it? Somebody requested. No, okay, I remember who it was, but I'm not going to say who. Me to make an infinite loop of that. I didn't really like the impact of that foot there, but I couldn't get it lift high enough. I think this looks really, really stupid from the other angle. Yeah, basically. And this is another reason that plan your lip syncs. So here, the lip sync I have go until I can't see her mouth anymore, and then I literally just stopped working on it. And I think here originally had her doing something, but then I stopped. Errorheads. Error. Error. Do I have an error on my head too? Yes. I'm not pleased about the error.
On about the ponies and the friendship and the wrapping up of winter.
Some things I can see that I would have done better now. Nothing wrong with airheads. I love this too. Change in lighting. Bright faced, dark, anime. More airheads. Actually, now that I think about it, Spitfire was on his right side there, on his left side here. Got derpy though.
Inkle, that the song was nice.
No, it wasn't. I thought there was something I had to do weird here. The camera feels like it moves really slow. That's not creepy. Look at that cockpit. It's just like metal slabs just put in order to make it look like it. It doesn't even make sense for the glass here. The glass on this is all flat across the top. And even this, I think this is all just like a... Yeah. It's not even coming in that fast. It's just shaky cam. This is one of those the ones too where I wish that I had the enhanced models. I didn't have those at the time, so the mouth was done with the original models, where this is the biggest creepy smile I could do. And to get the effect here, the teeth are set to self-illuminate. That's nothing special. The eye blockers are there again because otherwise you'd have this little spot right there, and I don't want that. But the teeth, I believe, are from a Five Nights at Freddy's model. Yeah, Mecha Freddy Fluttershy. And then I just positioned the head with the teeth just where they needed to be. And as the smile got bigger, the teeth didn't really fit well either. They weren't positioned the same, so I actually increased the size of the teeth. It doesn't. Well, the teeth look like they're showing more of the teeth. It's actually just getting bigger. A lot of these shots I had the glasses set to glow. Explosions of missing textures. Some of these shots were super difficult. Like this one is actually like this weird bat thing. With just like an explosion effect. Yeah, then that one. That's almost as terrifying as this with and without. Oh yeah, the map's missing on that one. Where's all the particles? There we oh. Yeah, that would be why it was hit so hard it's airing out so bad. Piggy and hamburger pie. It kinda looks like poop. It could be poop. I don't know what texture it was that I have missing with that. But to get this perspective right, so the camera's not moving anymore. The actual models in the world are set to pull in. Oh, I know one of the textures that's or one of the ones that's missing. It's the distortion effect. Oh no, maybe it's just going through it. There's a distortion effect that I have here. Okay, that seems to be working. You can kind of see it Yeah, a little bit right there. Kind of gives the feeling of a heat waves. I put a whole bunch right at the bottom here. Something got really weird with the lighting on this one though. Oh, okay. That's what it was. I had high radius. Radius requires, because it spreads out the same light to simulate a larger base light, it looks dimmer than it is when it's not processed, which in this case would be like this. It's brighter, I had to bump it up, and then it gets darker. Anyway, we're diversion for this one. So hopefully I answered your question, sir. Yeah, like with the keyframe thing. Keyframing just takes practice to figure out where you need it, when you need it, why you need it. Especially when it comes to making like walk cycles and things, because you're not just making A to B, you're making A to B to A to B to A to B. It's going in a loop. So, yeah, walk cycles suck. Those take lots and lots of time. But there's a lot of people in the community now that make them, so I don't have to worry about it. Anyway, again, let me know if there's any questions that come up with stuff with this video or the other one or anything. I like answering them, so don't worry about it. I think this was the one we were working on before. Yes, Spike gets brain. I just cannot remember where we were on this.
I got an idea for a rocket navigation system, but I need your help.
I do not like that shot.
Rocket science! Woo! Headshot surgery! Oh! Squishy! Yeah! Now grab the brain!
Oh, yeah. I was gonna do the sound thing. Let's see if I can grab that right now. What is that, yeah, the item sound effect. Item get. No. What's this from? It might be from an old game. Maybe open chest. Just hoping that I could find like a download for it separate. I like that because it's old timey. Perfect. All right, now we're gonna get that YouTube audio using magic. Oh look, how did I get here? That's nifty. Wait. Oh, do I have an SD? Yes, I did. Okay. Couldn't remember if I installed that or not. Yeah, I don't think I want to use that part because to me that's too much lead up. Okay, I think I'm gonna leave a little bit of down. I can't remember. It's 44100 for SFM, right? I can never remember. $44100, yeah. Timing might be a little bit weird on that. Trying to figure out, is it 48,000? It works. I thought it was always like the three numbers, not two. 48 to 4410, 100. Okay. One thing I want to do is adjust the field of view on this, or focal plane. Okay, so he got brain. All right, now what's that Twilight do in response? Windows 10 and SFM? No, I've had no problem with it. Originally, when Windows 10 came out, I know there was a lot of issues, but I haven't. I was hoping that most of them had been solved by now, or Windows 10 had updates that made it work. I don't know. But no, I haven't had any issues with it. As far as I can think of right now, all or any issues I've had haven't been a Windows 10 thing.
You got.
I wanted to go to this side, but then that's technically breaking the 180 rule.
You got a brain! Woo!
Well, do I want to have her still standing there, or have her like move back?
Now grab the brain! Grab the brain!
I might
Now grab the brain!
extend this a little bit.
Hey!
I thought like could have the camera instead be like up here.
Now grab the brain!
Have her be more excited, and then have her just go whoop.
Grab the brain! Now grab the brain! Now grab the brain!
I kind of like his like, oh shit. Like it's like a dude, bro. Like whoa. Oh yeah, he doesn't do O very well. I'm like, whoa. Whoa. I can't do his eyes now too.
Now grab the brain!
I might try that camera.
Now grab the brain!
I wonder if I need a 35 for this.
Grab the brain! Brain! Brain!
I think I'm just gonna keep her being like don't like he's like, oh shit.
Press the brake! Now grab the brake! Grab the brake!
What do you mean the overrides? Sorry, I just catching up on that. I guess well.
You got a brake!
Okay. I like this shot better now.
You got...
Oh, it's because I'm on a camera. Or whatever. Gee, why is it on? Hello, Spike. Like glitched on or something? Yeah. Oh shit. Ah!
You got a...
Okay, so I want her back at her desk, or... Spike, no one.
brain! Woo!
Okay, there's another line.
Woo! Science!
I thought she says, now slap that in the rocket and then bing bang boom, rocket science learning. I thought that was the line she had. Because without it, I'm kind of up a creek. Oh yeah, that was the other mission. I love that one.
That was awesome! Come by, I'll pay you for that. I don't even care.
This cuts her off. But yeah, I have to pay you for that. I don't even care.
I'm busy splicing a toaster and a pigeon, so I don't have any work for you.
Okay, I missed these. The non-rocket surgery ones.
Has Moxie said anything about... I'm busy splicing a toaster.
Where did that one?
An object at rest will stay at rest. I'm not saying it's aliens. No, seriously, it's not aliens. You're an alien. What?
Why does it keep cutting it off?
I'm not saying it's aliens. No, seriously, it's not aliens. You're an alien. What? I'm not saying it's I'm not saying
The DLC's weird. So the rocket surgery ones I know.
just one more vat of bloody greasy stuff and we're good to just one more vat of... I do it myself, but you know, I'm all brain, no bro. I do it... Yeah! Chemistry, physics, genetics, physiology, or something like that. Yeah.
Some of these are really good. I could do so much with this stuff.
Vacuums! We all learn stuff today. Scientific method is for schmucks. I go straight to the experiment.
I missed a lot of these.
Maybe if I cross the hemispheres and bypass the... No, that won't. Maybe if... Hi there! Science is fun, is... Hi... It isn't rocket science. I mean, it is, but whatever. You know what? It isn't rocket science. I mean, it is, but whatever.
I might use that one. I just love her inflection.
Hey, you want to be a rocket science? Hey, you want to be a rocket science?
Hold on, that might actually work better.
I got an idea for a rocket navigation system, but I need your help.
I might add in that one too. Because I want to add in enough lines.
Hey, you want to be a rocket science? Hey, you want to be a...
I want to add enough lines so that it doesn't feel like it's just a mishmash of different voice lines.
This one time, I put baking soda and vinegar in a pie and fed it to a parrot. Top school. This one time...
That's horrible.
Organic computing has been a theory for years. Not anymore. Organic...
I don't think that's what it was meant, but okay. Anyways, so I gotta find the one.
Crit 'em to get the brain.
I gotta find. I know it exists.
Formula. I'm busy. That was...
Not that one.
Here are some facts about luck. Now, launch that thingy! Come on, press the button. We got what we need. Woo! Come on. Follow me. The blender's over here. Squishy. Yeah. Yeah. That kind of sucked. Also, grab me some Kragon skins for the nose cones of the rocket. Aerodynamicism. Also... Blah, blah. And launch! Alright! I need some stalker blood as lubricant. Just one more vat of bloody, greasy stuff and we're good to... What if dogs could talk? You ever see that basketball movie? Just look at that stalker wing! Gonna be sick when we get it on the road! Just one more and we'll have enough! Same.
Not that one. This
3, 2, 1, blast! 3, 2, 1! I like the cut of this rocket's jib. Let's split the difference, though. Combine the soldier brain and the torque brain in the science blender. I stashed a freeze gun for you because science is all about being prepared and hiding freeze guns everywhere. Bam, I'm smart. The stalker exam table's probably got some leftover blood to drain. Don't think about how gross it is. Or do, because it's still cool. The stalker exam... That's exactly what I am talking about. Come on back and we'll... Oh man, I hope that glass holds. Now, fire the rocket! Hypothesis, this will be frickin' sick! Woo! Woo!
the fire the rocket one might
Now,
work too.
you did it! I knew you! That torque brain's gonna make this work. Kill one of those torque things. Wings looking super.
She
That
talks so
torque
much.
has no ID. Blended science. Yeah! Wait! Lab stuff. It's congealed. I'm feeling it. Blam! Now put the torque brain on this rocket. That's our independent variable. Blam!
She just uses science terms, but none of it actually makes sense.
I need some robo lubricant. Friggin' experiments are so cool. That's too goopy to pick up, though. Shoot it with an ice weapon to get the wings so my missile can soar. You got a brain! Woo! Let's learn some stuff. Just get some more stalker blood and we'll be... It's in! Let's go launch the It's in! All right. Put the soldier's brain in the second rocket. Experiment! All right. Grab the brain, yeah!
Well, they brought up two brains.
Oh
Did I have
man,
this
it's
wrong?
heading for my house.
No, I don't think so.
That brain's looking juicy. Scientific ethic. That. All right, all right,
I'm looking
all right.
for the rocket
Put
science
the wings
learning.
and lube on that empty rock.
The Big Bang Boom.
Try killing him with a crit. Rocket science, woo! I got an idea for a rocket navigation system, but I need your help. I need a bunch of crap. Go get it. Let's do this. Believe in your dreams. Woo! Rockets. Headshot surgery. Ho! Now grab.
Didn't see it. I know it's in there though. There was some about putting it in the rocket, but because I need to have something cue him to put it in the rocket. But I might just put that on pause and work on starting the actual meaty, greedy stuff here. First off, I want to mark these. I like having these marked so that I can know if I shift them where they shifted to. Especially if you start doing fades. Keep it with the edgy spike shot. I thought about changing it to like having him wake up from something, but then I feel like it's putting it too much in his perspective, because that would probably be a shot like this, and then it feels more like the story is following him when in a way it's not. He's just innocent bystander. So I don't want to make a feeling of attachment. Oh, there it goes. You can hear the audio. All right, so I need him to look around. Do I have a male already animated doing that? I don't think so. Kind of. Yeah, but it's not going to work. I have Derpy doing it, but that's a different body style, so that would just destroy the model, so I'm just going to have to do it from scratch. Damn. Yeah, those are for a reason. Would it be a little tilted like that? I'm gonna go with no. Or at least in terms of the raising the shoulder. Might have to give him another second or so. Oh, so this was talking about blending with keyframing using other frames to help with making other frames. So like I had the look to his right, look to his left, and then this is straight. But I feel like now I want to keep it a little bit to his left and then have him just kind of turn to look straight. So because of that, to just being a little bit, I'm going to select everything, but I'm going to select the eyes because I still want him looking straight. I'm just going to hit with in. So if I go all the way in, that's all the way to what that other pose is, and then 0. But I can do a partial. So how far do I want to have him turned? I'm going to say about a third maybe. See, so now I was able to utilize that other frame to build a part of another, or actually just to build it in general, by blending the two. Now, what I probably want is him to slowly start to have him be looking that way. No, I'll keep it. I might just fade a little bit more from this one. I want to have him like some other motion going on there, so I might do a little bit. So we'll do. I'm gonna put that afterwards. Okay, when eyes are swapping, probably want to have them blink. So by doing that, it allows me to have him look like he's still going into that a little bit. And it might even have the head be ahead of everything. No, I'll probably keep it. Okay. Probably want to have a little bit of a body dip here.
what I think.
I'll have to work. can't leave. Because he can't. And I can't, with the lighting, you can't tell it's a hammer. And I wanted to stay that way. I don't want that knowing it's a hammer until it's a hammer. Otherwise, it kind of, the whole joke right here is that there's this huge buildup, and you don't know what's going to happen, and then it's just a hammer. So that's the whole point of it, is if I reveal it early, it removes that whole joke. Go with this one. Here, I'll give you a reason why you can't move. Alright. So, he can't move because he's afraid he's going to trip over this big nail that's laying here. Because what if he trips? I mean, he could have hurt himself. Yeah, there we go. Because I'd be worried. It's like, oh shit, it's a nail. It's a big nail, yeah. No, Spike just trips because Spike. You know, actually, now that I have some of this shot's essentially nailed down, and since I'm starting to refine it, I should get rid of some of this stuff. Clean up, or speed up the frame rate a little. I don't think that's ever visible. Nope. Refrigerator is. Computer cart. That's this one, right? Yeah. Delete battery cart. That's the one over here. Boxes. All the papers gone. Science equipment. Yeah, that's needed. I don't need those. This one. Oh. I don't think those are used for anything. That one is. What's this one? Oh, there it is. What the hell? Get out of here. Ceiling. We technically don't see the ceiling, but this can have an effect on the lighting. Doesn't, so we're good. Floor wire. So the only one that really shows is that one. Even the floor itself, I think we only have one of them to worry about. But two of them? So that one I can get rid of. I think these ones I can get rid of. Yeah. But there's always been two. The reason I put two is because if you're showing from other angles and it's not symmetric, it shows, it gives more attention to the other one. Or to what? So I wanted to, by doing it symmetrical, it makes it feel like there might be, it's easier for the brain to ignore it. This asymmetrical, that's going to make it think. So I just did it to make sure that there's less things for people to think on. Well, like for this shot, mallet number 2 isn't even visible, but it has an effect on the shading. So I can just hide that one. I need that. Nope. Oh, but I don't want to get rid of them because I don't know. So he's the one there. That's fine. These ones are Twilight's eyes. Don't need them. Well, if that had an effect on his. Delete computer screens. Don't need those. Actor low angle. I do. Yes. Yes. Minor, but yes. Minor, but yes. And then these ones are all new too. All right. Yeah, now I'm previewing at 50 frames a second. It looks exactly the same. Optimized. Actually, ooh, I can get rid of that. I don't even go into the walls. Which one is this? Don't need. That one I do need. That one I do need. That one I do not need. That one I get rid of. I just want to see if there's any changes in the lighting. And if I don't see any, I just go with it. Alright. There we go, even better. Now almost 60 frames a second. All right. Good night, Michael. I think. I don't like the wobble and his legs right here. Did I miss a positioning thing here? His leg looks a little bent. Yeah. It's their positioning that's getting all wonky, or their because they lifted them a little bit, and SFM does not like rounding position. Yeah. Yeah, they just did a full on thing. It just, that's the one quarrel I probably have with SFM right now is position moved small amounts does not round correctly. And even when you try to like, because like this will show the samples from here. Even when you try to be like, and that's what I don't really understand. You just say, resample on frames, and I don't even do it there. It's not even going to do it here. But like you can get more to pop up by doing something like this, and like, oh, here's a bunch more. But then you like do one little thing, and it gets rid of it all anyway. So it gets really annoying. No, I don't think they've updated SFM for... usually they put years on there. Well, I don't think they've updated it for about 4 years or something like that. It's been quite a while. I don't know what the purpose is for it. I've always thought that they put it on the back burner until they've gotten Source 2 figured out. Because they did make a version of Source that runs on Source 2, but Valve seems to be so focused on Steam that it's kind of just thrown everything else in the back burner because that's their moneymaker. So, but they, considering that there's so many other Steam killers showing up that are trying to get into the Steam's domain of digital distribution, while that aren't just like Ubisoft selling Ubisoft games and EA selling EA games. You have Epic Games now doing an open store for other developers, and Discord is now doing it. Humble Bundle is doing it. I think they're starting to feel a little threatened. So, I don't know. The ridiculous cut that Steam takes, because currently Steam takes 30%. 30%. That is insane. That's a lot of money to be taking for just the distribution platform. It's a very good distribution platform, but it seems like a lot of money going their way for something that they didn't actually even develop. So I think Discord's taking like 10 or 12 or 15, and I think Epic's taking 12. So it's big for really any developer to put themselves on there, because they get a lot more of the money back themselves. Yeah, I hope they do a Half-Life 3. They said that, because a lot of it was they focused on Steam. Then they kind of went into they started doing games again, but then they went into the VR market so that they could get a foothold before Oculus took a monopoly, which wasn't a bad thing. Having two in the market is always going to be good for everybody. And then they were focusing on Artifact. They said, though, that now that the VR thing's done and all this, that they're going to start focusing on video games again. But those things take time, so we'll see. How many people are left at their studio that make games? So, I mean, between Artifact and they've done a lot of demo stuff that still looks good. I don't know. They have a lot of stuff to do. I want anything with a 3. That's too sad looking. They can't make a Team Fortress 3 because there's too many people that put too much time into the TF2 now that they would have to allow everything to transfer. Nobody's going to want to go to play it, and they'd have to make it free to play because TF2 is. So TF3 is probably not going to happen, or if it does, it's going to be drastically different. But especially with the market today, it'd probably be like TF3 Battle Royale. Portal 3, I could definitely see happening. But like Left 4 Dead 3, that's now a market that's got a lot of other stuff in it. Vermintide is great and definitely took Left 4 Dead and buffed it up a lot. It made it a superior product. Half-Life is, I think, to the point now where it's like what would you call that? Duke Nukem Forever, where it's been so long since the last one that no matter what product you come out with, it will be treated and looked at like shite. You can people have built up in their minds that no matter what comes out, it's got to be absolutely amazing, and I don't think that they can hit that mark. Yeah, well, I don't think... Well, I think that they could... Left 4 Dead could do it. I think it'd be fine. It's... The market's flooded with too many new games, but if they went and updated Left 4 Dead 2, sure. But I don't know how you would update that now. Like, there's... Because before, Valve used to be the ones that would redefine a genre, and then... lately now it's been that they just try to play a Microsoft bit where Microsoft would, somebody else would make a great product, then Microsoft would just try to take that product, copy paste it and make it a little better, but normally they didn't really even do that very well. And now with like Artifact, Valve just said, oh, card games are popular, well, we'll make a card game, but we'll make it better, and they did with some missteps, but they did make a very good product. But it seems like that now, instead of being the forerunners, they're just chasing behind, and that doesn't sound Valve to me. But I guess there is a lot of other companies out there that do that now anyway. Yeah. Well, and actually, like, I was watching a documentary about Larian Studios, who makes Divinity series, and how they got rid of like all third parties because they were having influence on their decisions. They just said, we want to make this is what we want to make, we're going to make it our way. They said people want this, the publishers were saying that people wanted something else, and they said, no, we know what people want. And so they just got rid of all the third parties and just went their own. Took a huge amount of risk, but it paid off. And so they can make what they want to make. And they said, there's nothing out there, there's no games out there that fit this bubble. So, and that's kind of what we want to do. So let's fill that bubble. They did try, or they had publishers that were telling them for a while, like, you have to do, this is popular right now, Diablo type games, so make a Diablo type game. And oh, this is popular now, so like now make a game like this. And in some ways, they're like, well, we had to because it was what was popular at the time, is the only way we would sell stuff. But then when they actually got enough footing, they decided to just say, screw it, we're doing our own, we're going to make our own thing. And I think that's really cool to see. People taking risks and saying, and it paying off because they just had a passion. So make sure this. leg's not wobbly again. Yeah, it's a gutsy move, but it worked out. If what game was it? Or if you go look at Divinity Original Sin 2 and the reviews for it and the amount of awards it's won, that game is won an insane. Well, Divinity Original Sin 1, I think, won like 150 awards or something. It was insane, just because they made just a absolutely amazing product with an amazing amount of passion. Yeah, if you have never played it, I highly recommend it. It's a I can't really call it isometric because it's 3D, but it's a pen and paper style RPG in the form of a gauntlet type RPG, turn-based, with fully voice acted everything, and an RPG that does not hold your hand. Yeah, no, I understand. That game, I think, me and a friend got through most of it, and it took like 90 hours to do everything. It was nuts. It's hard with the pixelation. Yeah, that's good enough. The body kind of stops abruptly, though. Yeah, I did want to add that. I just never did. I feel like this might have some problems with the legs, though. Okay, so that was a up move. So that would cause these to be stretched a teeny bit. Ugh. I might not care. If anything, I could have that this leg take a step. So like go from actually, I could just do it. Might be hard to do now because all the positioning and stuff's going to work for the other direction. Actually, it kind of does work. I thought it was going to break down right around this point. Okay, that's the extra time that he needed. Okay. They're off a little bit. Maybe some of them are. Okay, so he's mostly done. Okay. Well, actually, I want to see if it'll kick me out when trying to do this. That's a host stomp. Yeah. That actually would be clock. I don't know, this one's so short. I don't like ones that are short enough that I can't hear it. Oh, that's even shorter. Let me see if I can hear it. Oh, sorry. I'm so used to it. I'm searching metal, so I don't know what this is going to come up with. That's not that bad. This one might be a little louder. Might do that one. I might just go with that for now. Well, it's metal, so like it's you can't have a hard, sharp sound. You have to have something that's a reverberating metal sound. So that's. I was hoping for something super deep, but I might just have to dig around for that later. Anyways, it's after 9, so I'm gonna call it there. So, but yeah, I will probably be streaming next Tuesday, New Year's Day. I have the day off, but we'll see. So, but it should be. Anyways, yes, go to bed, people. I guess it's super early, but we're all getting old. Anyways, so have a good weekend, behave, and Happy New Year. See you in 2019. Stupid jokes. We should at least give you a kitty. There you go. Now you can have a Happy New Year. Alright, bye-bye.